Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Ashwin Kamath from Urban Professional Games. Ashwin is a steady board game designer, and his first title under his new company is called Chicken Fried Dice, which is currently available on Kickstarter. Ashwin, welcome to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. I will not be able to match that energy, but I'll try my best.
I'll suck that energy out of you. It'll be great.
You've probably rehearsed that one or two times.
I
saw you in the dressing room.
We're in the hundreds now, so we're good. So Ashwin, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on this campaign. You're already
thanks.
You're already funded, which is amazing. And you and I haven't met. This is the first time we're meeting, so I'm always excited to meet new designers, new publishers, quite frankly, because you're publishing for yourself.
Let me get my eyebrows done. 1 second.
So I want to get into kind of where this all came together and some of these other game designs you did leading up to this point, because I know you've done a few now, right? And you've got a lot in kind of in the kitty or in the hopper. So let's start there. When did you first kind of enter this industry? And then before you got into the industry, what were you doing? And are you still doing that on the side, or kind of how your kind of career aspirations meet up with your game journey here?
Amazing. This story has been told a couple times. I'll tell it again because it's quite a unique, and I would say not trying to be biased or full of myself or anything, but it's a pretty cool story. Started in 2014. I moved to Seattle as an architect. Still kind of am an architect, and needed some friends, and so I just hopped along a bunch of board game meetups, like watch parties, all sorts of random things, dancing. Apparently, I salsa'd once in my time here just to find friends. And board games kind of took on a hold because it was easy, low barrier of entry as well. And through like various means, I found myself forming my own group, and I wanted to find even more opportunities. So one of the board game groups, I didn't read the full description. I was just hitting yes on all the meetup apps, groups, was a board game design group. I actually didn't go to that for a while. I met a prolific designer named Emma Larkins, who's in Seattle. And I met her at a Chaos Magic the Gathering draft, and she remembered me from joining the group and posting a couple times. It was like, hey, you should come down to this playtesting meetup. And I was scared. I just stood still. Like, you remembered me. She knew who I was. So I had to go, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I go to this thing expecting to play games and stuff. And I did, but it was all cardboard. It was all paper. It was all throwaway material. And it was the best night of my life. It was like, my eyes were wide open. I was seeing people designing games, and I didn't know that was how it was made. I didn't know under the hood, like it's just us doing it. I thought it was companies, and that there's also that too. And it just really opened my eyes to a world of things that I found myself finding other people through. In a lot of ways, I'm looking for community. I'm looking for friends and people to enjoy life with. And what better way than to sit down at a table and play games with? Weeks, kind of procured, going to this thing steadily every week, meeting people like Randy Flynn of Cascadia, shout out, meeting people like Sean Stankovich and Rob Newton and Joseph Z. Chen of Fantastic Factories. All these people from the Northwest. This glut of talent is just meeting here casually at this hotel or this apartment. And here I am, just like playing with cardboard, pushing things around and giving them my thoughts. And then they asked me about my games, and I had no idea. Froze still, and it took me a couple months of getting courage to get into the idea.
So are you saying you felt a bit of like imposter syndrome maybe going into some of these events?
Well, I didn't really know what that was. It was more like that term really was not defined for me back then. But it was more just like I'm just kind of not scared, but I'm just like, I don't think I have what it takes. I'm here just to enjoy what you guys are creating. And as I've mentioned before, I'm an architect, but I'm a designer in some other forms. I'm an artist in another type of work, inventor of another type of work. And so they brought that to the table, and months later I showed up with like Uzzle tiles. I was like, hey, stack them for me. That's my game. And they were like, okay, I don't understand anything here, and neither did I. But from that conversation started about joining a mentorship program called the Tabletop Mentorship Program, now sponsored by Unpub, which you'd brought up prior to this podcast. And I synced up with a person named Clarence Simpson of Clarence Simpson fame. You don't need to know. You need to know this guy. He's already kind of one of these like prolific game designers as well. But he's done games kind of like Merchants of Magic and Chomp and A Message from the Stars. Hope you like word and math games. That's what that one is. And he was my mentor. In 3.5 months, I wasted all of his time. I didn't do anything. I was just kind of like showing up, and that was enough for me. And for him, he was like, hey, where's your game? What kind of games would you like to design? And slowly and surely, after that time, COVID happened, and he basically reached out to me unprompted and was like, hey, status, like give me an update. And I had nothing, and he said, would you like to design a game together? All I needed was someone to ask me that question, and boom, I'm now feeling like I'm in the game design world. That's awesome. And within 24 hours, we had a game concept. We had all the rules written out. And through COVID, he's in North Carolina, I'm in Seattle. We're playtesting this thing regularly over online means and online forums. We joined up Discord groups, joined up, online conventions, which became a thing. And after the races, my friend, James, I feel like that was my journey into board games. I could keep talking. From that, I landed opportunities, and this is a unique experience. I feel very fortunate for this experience. From that, within 2 or 3 months, the game got signed by Pandasaurus, and it was a game called The Wolves. It's just an
no way. I've played that. I think The Wolves.
So nice. Everyone should. And I would also say that right immediately after that, there was tendering offers for me to join other companies to do this full time, and I didn't understand the amount of like praise and kind of opportunities that were coming my way that shouldn't have come my way because I'm a baby. I'm a little baby. Yeah. I don't even know what I'm doing. I just got my feet wet with a little game, and I dropped what I was doing to do this, and I started doing this full time. That's
awesome.
And yeah,
I think most people probably think that when they look at the industry from the outside, they just believe that there's all these designers and publishers that have everything figured out, and they're trying to get into an industry that's kind of already moved ahead without them. And I think the reality is I mean, you could probably count on one hand the number of people that literally have everything figured out, and the vast majority of the rest of us are still trying to figure things out. And I mean, I've done so many interviews now on this podcast, and what still shocks me is there's always like the chat afterwards. So I'll usually, after we go off air, we'll usually have a chat with the guest afterwards off air, and there'll be some that have done like massive campaigns, and behind the scenes they're like, I feel this imposter syndrome because I got all this success, and I'm still trying to figure some of these things out. Like I think I've got this design thing done, but man, I still don't know how to approach the factories, or I don't know how to do the distribution side. And there's a lot of learning, and it's a very long journey to accumulate all that learning. And I think the advice I would give to anybody that feels that maybe they don't know enough to enter the industry, or they feel the imposter syndrome, just realize that most people have felt that way, are probably still feeling that way. And there's plenty of room for everybody to come on board and put their ideas out there.
I love what you said there about, especially that last couple sentences, like about the idea that you can do this, just put your ideas out there into the world. And I'm all about paying it forward. I'm all about lifting all boats, fun expression, basically saying, hey, what you've learned, make sure that someone else learns that, make sure that some people get supported, not in the exact way that you've learned, but in their own way, and make it and break it down for people who are new and earnestly trying to figure this out. And I think it's really fun to also be that to someone else. And so the mentorship program was me being a little mentee, and then now paying it forward in tenfold by being like one of the admins in Playtest Northwest, running playtest groups here, doing all sorts of things to bring people into the community that has given me so much.
So you've taken on that mentor role yourself now, and you're starting to mentor others?
Yeah, but in capacities such as joining up the tabletop mentorship program, shout out, as a mentor, but I'm also still new to all this. So like, you're learning from my experiences or what I could perceive as value. working with that mentee, but then I'm also a mentee myself, getting into other typologies of this work, which is like now getting into publishing, now getting into manufacturing, as you had mentioned before. So.
How many solo projects have you done versus collabs, and do you have a preference for kind of going one way or the other?
Definitely have a preference. The number of games I've designed by myself is like in the hundreds, but out there in the public, maybe just a couple. But I prefer co-designing because it's a mash of worlds, it's a mash of philosophies, and I also feel like I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
We're making things up, we're solving problems we're creating, and making an experience joyful if it deemed necessary. And what is someone else's experience? Well, I would like to share that and work with someone and learn from someone. That's always kind of how I feel. I think co-designing also allows probably a better top end of a design too, because you could be stuck siloed in what you think is right, and someone else can help just lift you up.
It's amazing how you can kind of 1 + 1 = 3 in those cases, right? Where
Absolutely.
so you start to kind of brainstorm back and forth, and how quickly you can rise to that, get to the kind of the thing that you're creating, or the conclusion. I don't know if it's a conclusion because it's never really concluded, but get to kind of what that idea is and kind of flush it out is so much faster when you're doing it with someone else and trying to do it yourself, or using like playtest groups and things like that. Like if you can do it with a design part, especially if that person has opposite styles to you, is even better, right? Because you want to be additive. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. And then, so how did that all kind of then evolve into you wanting to create your own company with Urban Professional Games, and kind of where did that kind of come about?
I got a taste of what it felt like. A very quick success, rise. And you say success, I'm also saying success, but it's just like the opportunities like landed on my plate. And I was able to work for companies like Funko Games, and there's a company called the Uzzle here in Seattle. And I got to work for them full time. And those opportunities allowed me to get a taste or a glimpse into what a world of in board games would look like. It was fantastic. It was a dream. And it was short-lived. And so I wanted to luckily sync up with someone to start something together, and they reciprocated. And so over the course of years now, we've been building this idea of what a company could look like, what would our kind of our mantra, but also kind of like our goalpost for what we would want to do as a company, as a duo. And we're just friends. We just met, through playtesting. What else are you into? What other things are you, let's build each other up in terms of other hobbies and make something out of it.
That's awesome.
The publishing side became a byproduct of like all this, like basically energy inertia. It only felt necessary to start this with my friend, because we wanted to kind of create our own games into the world without necessarily the hoops and hurdles that we would have to go through with a publisher.
Sure. And then the raccoon, where'd the raccoon come from? Like the logo and all that. Like it's cute. I love it.
Yeah, a little sassy too. So Urban Professional Games is the name of the company. Urban Professional is like a little critter, just hanging out in a downtown setting in an urban environment and just kind of doing his own thing, getting coffee at 3 p.m. and just running around rummaging through trash. That's the Urban Professional in all of us. And I just think it's hilarious how they always look, they're dressed up and everything. And really they're just digging and eating trash.
Was Chicken Fried Dice, was this a idea that you had for a while that you've been working on, or was this something that kind of came out of the formation of the publishing company, or how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, wonderful question. This was a design that we started out together as a co-design based off of just luck of like wanting to work with people that were in that playtesting group. And through like the amount of iterations, we have like several games that we could maybe spin off from. And the name kind of became kind of canon for what we were doing. The name Chicken Fried Dice became like everything should be about chicken fried dice. And if we bring in other things, like it should be like, with purpose. And we started pitching this game around to every publisher.
So
and the publishing or the pitching side is not intimidating, but it can be just showing it on deaf ears at the wrong time and the wrong circumstance. They may not completely get the picture because, hey, we're coming out of COVID. We're barely getting back into the flow of things. We're at a convention. This is a busy time for all of them. They're trying to recoup losses and all this stuff. So X, Y, and Z, a lot of no's happened.
Yep.
And those no's turned into a yes, let's do this together. Like, we believe in this product so much that let's just kind of do it. Not necessarily out of spite, but a little bit out of spite.
Yeah. I mean, I think you make a good point there, right? And first of all, congrats on the funding. I mean, you guys have already smashed your funding record. I think I can put this in Canadian dollars. That's the only way I can see it. 145,000 is the way it's looking on this side.
Ooh, that sounds much better. Yeah.
on this side of the border, but I mean, so clever, the name, right? It's instantly you can visualize what this game is probably about. We're going to talk about it in a second, like how you play the game. But what I want to say is that when you make a statement like, we tried to pitch it out there and there's just no takers, and it's just like, well, I guess we're going to do it ourselves. And I think there's a lesson to be learned there for other people that, there's so many great game ideas out there that they can't all be published because there's only so many publishers looking for so many games at this given time. And a lot of my colleagues I've talked into the industry are currently looking like 3 years out. Like the roster's full for the next 2 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're looking 3-4 years out before you're getting that game published. If you're passionate about the game and if you think your game is good, and I mean clearly when I look at this is a good game, right? So it wouldn't be hard to kind of see where you guys landed on this. I would hope and say, you know what, there's no takers. Okay, we got to take the second path, which is we're going to self-publish this and get it out there, which I'm glad you guys did because it looks so cool. Can you talk to us about this game, like how you played this game, kind of what it's about? Just before we went on air, I'm like, for sure this is purposeful, how you have people grabbing the dice almost like chickens picking at the bugs that are in front of them. I'm showing it on screen here. Can you just kind of explain how this game is played?
Absolutely. I just wanted to touch one more thing quickly about like the publishing side and pitching. Absolutely, you should do this if you feel like this is something that you want to do. But self-publishing is another route, and
it's no joke.
It wasn't something. It wasn't something that was on my radar.
Yeah.
Neither on my partner Rob Newton's radar. But it just became like our reality when we saw a kid and his father playing this game without much instruction, without much tutelage. And it just seemed natural that this game needed to exist. Yeah,
it's so good.
And those no's for publishers, hey, you just brought it up that they're thinking 3 years out, and their brand, their line, their company's on the line with every game that they like kind of bring in. So they have to kind of monitor all that. And so these no's turned into yeses for us, and that's all we needed. We just needed that motivation to do it ourselves.
Here's another comment I want to just interject just before we get into the game, because again, this is a great thread to pull on. I was pitched 2 games recently from a very well-known designer, and nice. I took a pass because when I'm looking at it within the context of my brand and the types of games that fit within my portfolio, because again, we've talked about this on the podcast in the past, I'm building audience over time. And if at any point I interject a game in there that doesn't really fit with what I've done in the past, you run the risk of losing audience, right? So you want to have something that's going to help you continue to build that audience and kind of what they're looking for out of your brand. So even when you're pitching your game to a publisher, the no isn't sometimes you have anything to do with your game other than the fact that it just doesn't fit with what their direction is and kind of their brand and the kinds of games they're trying to do, right? So you can't always take it personally sometimes if there's not a fit. It could be nothing to do with the design. So, sorry, I just want to throw that in there because that is important. I don't want people to be dissuaded if they're rejected. So, let's jump into it. I've got on screen here. I'm a dice junkie. I love dice games. So, walk us through it. How's this work?
Well, if I were to say it's Yahtzee with extra steps, I wouldn't be lying to you, but it's basically that. You are chickens, and you are frying dice. Winner, winner, chickens making dinner, where you are chucking and plucking dice from a central coop with 2 fingers, and you're serving up customers at your restaurant to be top chef. How you do that is very straightforward. You just color match on these little chevrons that are onto the left justified side of every card, and they also have kind of stacked chevrons, which are order up. So the whole system is like this little mini puzzle, like a small straight in Yahtzee, and you're just plucking a die, and they have to be in equal to or ascending order. So it could be a 2-2-2, it could be a 2-5-6. It can't be a 2-1-6, right? Because that would break that puzzle. You're doing this at the same time as other players, and a roll and write with simultaneous play does exist, but a roll and write with simultaneous play with no turns, with no round, like with no turns, basically doesn't. And this is a real time roll and write where you're plucking dice the same time as other people are plucking dice. When you serve up customers, they give you rewards, just like roll and writes that you've played. In Yahtzee, instead of scoring points, like you score your small straight or your set, you get a reward. Those rewards look very familiar to what you've already been doing. It's a free red X, or it's a free wild, you choose X. And these colors represent ingredients, so it's like peppers and eggplants and tofu and things like that.
It's quite clever, the board, like the way, because when you think roll and write, I usually think, okay, I got a wipeable board, a couple dice, and they roll it, and everyone kind of marks on their board. Or there's the other ones where you have the flip and writes, where you're drawing like a tetra shape or whatever. But this one here, you've got like multi-layered boards, and cards are sliding into your truck, and so you're able to kind of like name your truck, and you're writing on the cards. And talk about that, because it's really kind of interesting the way you guys have kind of pulled these things together.
It's all about immersion. It's all about full-on theme, enriching theme, and making someone feel like they are at a kitchen. Yeah. So it was giving you the panic, the rush of like cook, serve, delicious, and overcooked, and with the vibe, but enriching the theme with we're chickens, we're plucking dice, and we're serving up with a kitchen where we can chop that die we just plucked. We can re-roll it in the wok, in the wok station, the toss station. We can actually change its color by marinating, just like you would do in a kitchen of your imagination. So you can change its color, change its number, chop it in half. You can do all sorts of things to complete your puzzle. And the dual layer aspect of this is a dry erase game. Because theme, we wanted the customers to have their unique order. We wanted unique, charming art to present a unique order, rather than a piece of paper that you would throw away. You can replay this game over and over again. And the dual layer nature of this food truck is that over the course of the game, you're going to serve customers with specific needs. If you do that, you'll earn tips, which allow you to upgrade your restaurant. How would you upgrade your restaurant? By ticking a box? No, you are placing a tile of the exact same type of station of chopping or saucing or tossing, but now it's more, and now it's better, and now you can flip it even. So you have like two or three chances to upgrade your restaurant in a variety of ways. A modular take and a roll and write, where you're plugging in dual layered tiles into a board. And that's not only that. The type of rewards you can get also allow you to build up like your classic roll and write kind of tropey track building game, like a Gauntron Clever. Yep. You have a menu board. Instead of having a track of nothingness, you have like building out your menu on specific flavors. And so these rewards allow you to go down tracks for points, complete customers before they get hangry, and then earn rewards in terms of Michelin stars, or like Roo stars, basically. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's you can tell you guys put a lot of thought into kind of how this thing comes together, these different components. How many iterations did you go through before you landed at this? Like, did you nail it out of the gate, or was there any fundamental things you had to change as you kind of went along?
I learned this about myself after this project. I am kind of too sympathetic to people's comments, and also the next game I play, I'm taking something from that, or we're taking some of that and putting it in our game. We probably had, if I were to say 100 different versions of this game, I'd be lying. I'd be shortchanging ourselves. We probably had like over 100 different versions and iterations of this game. And that's not necessarily uncommon, but the way that we went about it was a little bit unique. And so we had all sorts of other things that came in and out of this game. We had shopping carts. We had like tech tracks, we had like stock markets, all sorts of really silly things, and chicken cards and things like that. So we removed all that to get to the core essence of it, and really kind of through iteration, through playtesting with a bunch of people from all over the country, we found our calling, and it was this nature of the simultaneous play.
Design is counterintuitive. A lot of people think that you need to add more, and often you need less, right? You need to pull things away and get down to the core of what is this game about. And if you try to sprinkle on too much extra, I think you can either kind of water down the experience, so to speak, but make it more complicated than it needs to be. I'd rather have a game that is straightforward and everybody kind of gets what it's about, and then you're going to keep playing it and pulling it in and putting it on the table because it's fun, than a game where someone tries to like all these different add-ons and all these and try to make it, you know, so robust and complex with all these combination iterations that it never comes out. I can think of one, I'm not going to name the game, where I pulled it out of the box, I played it once, and then I sold it. And I sold it not because it wasn't a good game. It was there were so many things that they had added in that just the setup alone was like a make-work project. And I'm like, okay, instead of me doing that, I'd rather play 2 games in that same time period with people, because I'm there to play with people. I'm not there to set up a game. So I know some people like all the little bits and pieces and things that come along with the different games, but you know, that game that I had sold, I kind of wish that they had a basic version. There was just, here's the core of the game, right? And just down to what the essence of what it was about. And that probably would have got pulled out quite a bit on the play table because the hook of the game was really smart. It's just, it was too much in the game bag. The box is way too big. So like, it's like, do I bring this to game night? Do I haul it? Well, if I take it all the way to game night, we don't end up playing it. I just, just carry 25 pounds around for no reason. Things like this, right? So as a designer and a publisher, it's maybe kind of look inward and say, reflect on some of the things I create going forward, saying, okay, how can I, and I've been guilty with this with, the Cities of Venus series. Some people might accuse me with the first Cities of Venus game of, did you really need to do minis? That could have been probably achieved with with a dual layer mini boards versus actual plastic minis. That could have shrunk the box down and things like this, right? So it really makes me think, how can I strip things away to enhance the experience versus take away from it?
Yeah, I agree. Definitely to an extent. I think I wouldn't want to curb any sort of someone's creativity, but if they are looking at getting a game into market the traditional or even unorthodox path, there's a lot of ways to go about it. And I wouldn't even say or fault a designer for throwing the kitchen sink at the start. You're excited. You should do it.
Yeah.
You should try and error. And I think what I would say is make sure that you don't stick it in front of just your peers and yourself and stay in your head. You try out the product or design you have, meaning you make it, and it has to be paper, it has to be throwaway. Make sure that someone can understand it, but just even if it is a kitchen sink, one too many mechanics, who cares? From my point of view, it is the legibility and the playability from someone else that you might not even know, and then that would help you inform the experience. And also, like, what is the game that you wanted to make? Stay true to that. But if you're also malleable and you see some things that come out of playtesting, like chicken fried dice, maybe that's the path you take as well, because the simultaneous play wasn't our idea. It was something that came out of playtesting with other people, right? Yeah,
some of the best ideas. I've had a lot of fixes on things I've been trying to figure out that. And I always tell the example of Time Splicers, a game we had, and the feedback we had from one of the playtesters we had. The person was the delivery could have been way better than it was. Like, they delivered it in a very almost rude manner, and your natural inclination is to kind of like almost push back against that. But I didn't. I paused, wrote it all down, said, thank you for the feedback, and slept on it. And they were right at the end of the day. How they got me to there was, I made changes that were fundamentally based on I'm glad they gave me that feedback. And that's a tough part to get to be able to take that feedback and internalize it. Not necessarily take everything, because you can iterate something to death, and you can iterate in perpetuity, right? So at some point you got to call it. But being able to take harsh feedback and kind of get to the core, what is it that they're trying to say? Because they might not be using the right words to say what they're trying to say, but what's the experience that you're trying to fix?
True. That's true.
And is there some way in there that you can fix it? I did want to talk about your artwork really quickly. Who'd you go to for this? This design is so cool.
Yeah, this is our friend May from out in Thailand, and she's never been a board game artist
Wow.
before, but this was her first and not her only. Immediately after starting a project with us, she's picked up a couple others and a couple either big name ones from like Ravensburger and stuff. So that's pretty awesome how much she's already gotten from this opportunity. But yeah, we initially weren't chickens frying dice. We were people eating chicken, and someone had a comment about wanting to play a game that's not about eating chicken, but that didn't sway us. We were looking for people who could do food art, and her art was just very remarkable and impeccable, even, and it was a style that we, both of us, Rob Newton and I, kind of agreed upon. It took a while to get to an artist that we agreed on, and then it just so happened that some of the characters that she's making, lots of cat forward art, but we were like, just let's like mess around with like the type of characters. So instead of like people, what if we were chickens? What if we were the chickens? And then boom, sparked this new world that we created. You know, so
it looks great.
Through meeting the artist, through discovering what our art could look like together, then the game changes as well.
We're like, so now that this is clearly funded and funded well for you guys, what is the plan going? Like, have you thought about what the next game is? Is there another one coming from Urban Professionals soon? Like, how have you kind of mapped out where you guys are going from here?
I love this. The short answer is absolutely. There is a long answer, but it is like we need to see how this works. We need to figure this pipeline out, and then we go from there. But we are definitely designing other games. In fact, in this universe that we've created with our wonderful illustrator May, or Maymo, we might take our game Chicken Fried Dice that fits in the frame, and we might do a little scale down and play it on words even further, and look for Shrimp Fried Dice to a store near you, and yeah, other things. We are definitely looking into other name-based first games. I feel like that might be our hook, with the kind of like an out-of-the-box kind of break the mold type of philosophy, where, you know, we're doing something that is untraditional, not traditional, pretty unique, with a familiarity that you can sit down with friends and family and play this for the first time and want to play again. It whets your appetite.
That's amazing. Well, this campaign wraps up in 2 weeks. I will put a link in the show notes for people that want to check it out. I encourage people to check it out. It looks like a lot of fun. You guys have done a great job on this, and I want to wish you all the best. I can't wait to see how this ends for you, and I can't wait to see more coming out of the company.
Awesome. With this also, like, I just want to plug Chicken Fried Dice one more time. Lots of roll and writes have a solo mode or like an experience, because it is kind of like sometimes they're just like sit down, unique experiences, heads down puzzles. This has 5 unique puzzles for solo players. You just flip the food truck on the backside and it has a unique puzzle. And when I say unique, I dare you to try them all. They do share, like, test the waters of components quite
fantastic. A bit. Chicken fried rice, or chicken fried dice. I did it again. Chicken fried dice.
There it is.
Check it out on Kickstarter. Ashwin, all the best, my friend. Take care. Cheers.
Thanks.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.